Gayathri Smith, you can start off.
Thank you, MCC. Good evening, everybody. First of all, with the permission of the Chair, Multiple Council Chairperson, 𝐶𝐚𝐜 PMJF, and today's speaker, who is voluntarily attending to all the Lions events, and today she's spending her time with us to promote marketing. This is an essential tool in Lionism. So we hope we can get, including myself and all the participants, I welcome to you all to the session done by Mrs. Gayathri, Seneviratne, Vice President, Digital Marketing Association Sri Lanka, former Country Director, Google MSR Sri Lanka, Laos and Brunei. The benefit that we are taking from today's session will be helpful to our Lionism as well as our personal life. Thank you very much and welcome you once again, everybody, all the leaders, Lions and non-Lions. Thank you very much, MCC, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Gayathri Smith. Gayathri Smith is our MD chairperson for marketing, and it's my pleasure to speak a few words. As you know, in everything that we do, Lions for the longest while has been a well-kept secret, and we are slowly coming of it over the last few years. And Gayathri is joined us to give us some insights and tools on social media marketing, specifically digital, because those are tools that we have at our disposal as most often as non-professionals, non-agencies, where we can use those tools to promote the work that we do in our clubs, in our districts. And thank you, Gayathri, for volunteering your time. I know you're a very busy lady. And thank you for doing that and coming back to the movement to help us with this. I would like to invite Leola and Lakisha to make a brief introduction of our guest speaker tonight so that we can know, so that every one of us will know who it is who's sharing her wisdom. Lakisha?
Yes, very good evening, everyone. So our guest for the day, reach more, engage better, expanding your impact online. Gayathri Seneviratne is a seasoned professional in digital and data-driven marketing with over a decade of experience shaping Sri Lanka's digital landscape. She is the Vice President of the Digital Marketing Association of Sri Lanka, DMASL, and former Country Director for Google MSR in Sri Lanka, Laos, and Brunei. A passionate advocate for women in tech and entrepreneurship. She has led programs upskilling thousands of rural entrepreneurs while helping businesses thrive in the digital economy. Today, she works as an independent consultant in marketing and travel technology, making digital concepts simple, practical, and impactful. So I cordially invite our guest speaker to continue her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakisha. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Shana, for having me. Very excited to be here since I'm also technically sort of a former Lion and I was handling marketing communication for the club as well. So great to be here and hopefully, I'm trying to share just a little bit of what is a completely whole world, entire world out there in marketing, especially with the digital. We used to call it the emerging channel, but I don't think it's emerging anymore. It is the primary channel now for anyone, whether it's communities and clubs like us, or whether it's for brands or even as an individual, right? For us to brand ourselves as professionals, digital is now the first channel of choice for most of us. So there are a lot of changes happening in this area. I have been I actually came across it as a career by accident, but I'm so glad I'm here. It's something that my boss made me try out for 3 months, and now it's almost 15 years I'm still in the industry. So I've had the privilege of seeing Sri Lanka grow in this industry over the last almost 15 years. And I've worked with so many brands, the larger multinational companies, and even the small and medium enterprises, as well as a lot of social projects that I have also been part of, which I will share with you today. So I'm so happy that clubs like this, that y'all are taking the initiative to be more aware and to know what is possible on these channels, and to see how much you can communicate the projects that we do. I have personally done projects and kind of talked about it, or done projects using the social community, and I know it works. And something I used to talk about in my club as well was that we need to do more of communicating what we do into the community, into society. We do this really well, I think. Offline, you see a lot of Lion projects anywhere in Sri Lanka that you go, which is great. But the online space, especially with now the Gen Zs coming into the online space, it's a different ball game. Maybe some of us here are Gen X, are baby boomers, or millennials. So we are in completely different generations. Gen Zs and Gen Alphas are like, they are a completely different ball game. They are the way we communicate with them. So it's nice to see that these associations are now like kind of trying to learn and enable their clubs to do better. And Lion anyway internationally anyway are setting social media as like a first step towards communicating projects. Even if you go to their website, they have an entire social media kit available. So everything is sort of like prepared for us to be able to take this messaging outside. So before, as we get into this, just some housekeeping points. We can open for question and answers at the end of the session as well. But if you feel more comfortable unmuting and asking questions while we are going through this information, or if you feel more comfortable typing in a question on the chat, please feel free. It's very flexible. I don't mind being interrupted. I feel that's where we have the richest conversations. We can keep this really open and casual. I can respond in English and Sinhalese. Unfortunately, I can only read and write Tamil. I can't speak in Tamil yet, but I'm making it a point to learn. But yeah, please, you're more than welcome. So at any time, if you feel like you have a question, just feel free to unmute and interrupt. So yeah, just to give you a little bit, I was given a really nice introduction by Lakisha. Thank you for that. So I just really wanted to show this to tell you on a voluntary capacity what I do now, and how we are working with communities like yourselves. And I think Shana and I have also discussed a longer term project that we are very excited to be working on together with the club. So I'm sure there'll be more on that later as we develop. But I actually have gotten out of the corporate sector and now working as an independent consultant and trainer, specifically in marketing and travel technology. So I help a lot of small and medium businesses in the hospitality sector, travel sector, and even brands to make the most of the digital channels and their marketing strategies to do better. I have worked with a lot of large companies, and I thought, okay, you know what? They're making money anyway. I need to help the smaller companies who really need help. So I felt like this way was the easiest for me to kind of get into those businesses and really help them progress. So as part of this, I'm being part of the Digital Marketing Association is completely voluntary. It's a voluntary organization. So all of us there are in a voluntary capacity. And what we try to really do are programs like this. Because we really want to empower and enable communities. We conduct series of workshops. This is completely free of charge. By the way, we have workshops we conduct on cyber safety for school children at schools in and outside of Colombo. We conduct training sessions for small and medium enterprises and so on and so forth. So we really want to do a lot more in terms of building the community for digital adoption. And whoever, regardless of who the government is, we also work very closely with the government ministries because they have the network to facilitate these kind of training programs. So we give the resource and we use their network to really broadcast this. So why I'm sharing this is because I'm sure all of you here have your own networks. So if you think there is opportunity to partner or to facilitate a program or on education awareness on anything it doesn't have to be marketing, but anything in the digital and space of technology, feel free to connect and we can work together on making it happen. Did anyone have a question or was it just an unmute? I think it was just an unmute. Okay, so before we really go into so as we go into this, I just wanted to simplify this a little bit because I wasn't sure how many would be in marketing who have a background in marketing. But so I kept it at a higher level to give you more context. So let's take a look at what the digital landscape is like globally and locally, right? So we have 8 billion people in the world, and this is a report that is actually produced by a research company called Meltwater. Called Meltwater, and they produce this report every 6 months or so. So we have 8 billion people in the world, and of course we have almost 8 billion cellular mobile, almost the same amount or more of cellular mobile connections. So I don't think I need to explain to you that the global population is definitely connected to the internet. Now, the platforms they consume are different, right? So from like different countries, there are different platforms. For example, China doesn't have Google. China has something called Baidu, because obviously Google is an American company and China doesn't use American products. Similarly, with Russia has its own search engine. They don't use Google. They use something called Yandex. So similarly, the different regions sometimes use different platforms, but the principle and how it technically works is one and the same. Consumer behavior, of course, is different. You know how Asians behave as customers or consumers are not the same as how Americans or Europeans or New Zealanders would. So that changes, but the platforms in itself work in a similar way. So let me throw out a question to you guys now. We have Sri Lanka has 23 million people, right? How many of the 23 million are connected to the internet? How many internet users do you think we have in Sri Lanka? Y'all can throw
Let's
a chat.
put it into the chat. Yeah, I'll read it.
Yeah.
Just type it into the chat, everyone.
If you guys are driving or on the way back and cannot chat, you can feel free to unmute. 10 to 15 million. Good guess, good guesses. Okay, good. 23, no, Rajesh, unfortunately, we are not there yet. But yeah, of the 23 million, yeah, so the thing with Sri Lankan data is that we don't have a neutral body here in Sri Lanka that really measures this yet. It's only the TRC, the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka, that can give us the number of mobile connections. And then the industry kind of gathers the data from the advertising platforms like Facebook, Google, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, and we have made our conclusions. So good guesses, everyone. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, most of you were right in the sense that this is not moving. Hold on. Yeah. So in Sri Lanka, we have 23 million people. According to Meltwater, we have about 12.5 million people online, internet users. But according to our statistics, it's about 14.5, 15 million internet users, because when we take the data from the platforms, we can kind of assume that it is around 14.5 million. So interestingly, we have 14.5 million internet users, but we have 29 million mobile connections, right? So we have more mobile connections than the population, and that is because on average, each person has roughly 1 to 2 devices, right? So that's how they have concluded that we have more mobile connections. So that's probably the reason why. Then there is also, so when we were sharing these numbers in a ministry program, they said that some people have 2 devices because they have, like, for example, a dialogue connection and a Mobitel connection, right? If they are in the outskirts or in areas of Sri Lanka where coverage is relatively low, they usually have 2 different connections from 2 different providers. So that was interesting insight as well. Sri Lanka is no longer what do you call it, like a traditional market in terms of communication. We are very much connected to the internet, and we are very much savvy in how we consume data. And one reason is that we are one of the countries in South Asia that has the lowest data charges. So data consumption in Sri Lanka, compared to other countries in South Asia, is relatively higher. Okay, so yeah, so this is what we were talking about. So roughly 15 million is what we are thinking is the number that we follow in the industry. So this, I will now show you how it's split into the various different social platforms, right? So these are the broadband connections, and you can really see in 2018, 2019, really in 2020, once COVID hit, of course, we have this huge spike. It was really growing in Sri Lanka, but then when COVID hit, we really hit our spike, and then our broadband usage just continuously keeps going up, and this is what we continue to see here in Sri Lanka. So of this, we have how many of them actually use smartphones, right? Because smartphones is really where the social platforms perform the most. So 68%, again, it's because smartphones are now very easily accessible, very easy to purchase. You have smartphones that have a very low that are at very low prices. You have Chinese smartphones available in the market. So even if you're outside of Colombo, or even if you're from a low-income family, sometimes you will definitely have a smartphone, right? And you will definitely have television. That's usually what we see in the market. So we have 68% of our population, or of our internet population, have smartphones, and only around 26% use feature phones. So accessibility wise, you can definitely be assured that you can reach a huge amount of the population of Sri Lanka, right? So I think for us as a club, this is really useful and interesting, because that's what we want to do. We, unlike a brand, it doesn't really matter who sees our content, right? We want our content to go to as many people as possible. We want as many people as possible to see what we are doing. We want anyone to be part of the projects that we are doing and to contribute. So in terms of communication, we don't have a barrier as such in terms of who we need to speak to. So this gives us a lot of accessibility. Any questions? Can I pause a little bit here and ask if there are any questions or thoughts, anything you disagree with me on? It's totally fine. Let's interact as much as possible.
Running true to form, we might have it more towards the end, Gayathri, unless they drop something in the chat.
No problem. No worries. Okay, so I will keep going. I will keep pausing in case you have questions anyway, but yeah, I'll keep going otherwise. So now we are slowly getting into consumption on the platforms. So Google as a platform, Google has over 8 platforms under Google as a company, right? So take a look at your phone right now. How many Google products do you use, right? You have Gmail, you have Google Search, of course. Maybe some of you are on an Android device. You use Google Chrome on your laptop, probably. I'm sure most of you use Google Maps. And this is here Apple, the Play Store. So if you are on an Android phone, I'm sure you use the Play Store. I'm sure all of you here are on YouTube and YouTube Shorts. So even if you take like the 50, 60 of us here, right? Most of you have at least 5 to 6 of these 8 platforms, right? So think of this as the entire population. Through Google as a platform alone, you can reach almost 90% of the total internet population in Sri Lanka, right? So that is huge if we use this properly. So of this, other than marketing, so you can, if you're running paid advertisements, right? If you're doing paid marketing online, you can actually show your ads on any of these platforms, right? But if you're doing more content, right, more social content where you are not paying really, you're just creating content and putting it out there, then you're most likely to be using YouTube and YouTube Shorts. So I'll also show you a couple of examples of how different lion clubs actually have used these platforms and are continuing to use this, and they're actually case studies of how they have been effective. So I took lion clubs as well as brands just so that we have a good mix of inspiration to the fact that we can do this. So Google is huge in Sri Lanka. Meta is the parent company for Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger, right? So we call it Meta now. We don't call it Facebook anymore. So it's a family of all these platforms. WhatsApp is huge, extremely huge in Sri Lanka. We are almost at 15 million. So almost all internet users use WhatsApp. And then we have 11 million users across Facebook, Messenger, and Instagram. So these would be obviously core platforms that we will use when we are using our content, doing content, creating content, and sharing it on these platforms. This is also multilingual, right? So there are people in this 11 million who use Facebook in English, in Sinhala, and in Tamil. So you can definitely do a lot in terms of content to reach this audience. So this is huge. I can see some questions popping up, so I will take a minute to kind of respond to that as well, so that we address it here. Yeah, Angie, like actually almost half the population, right? Because I mean, our internet penetration is at about 57, almost 60% of the population. So that's, I mean, almost all of that can be reached by across these platforms, right? Shana, these are active users. So this 11 million monthly active users, not Facebook profiles. And the 11 million is minus profiles which are below the age of 13. Below the age of 16. Because this number we can actually extract through the advertising platform, and the advertising platform reports the number of users to whom we can advertise. So in Sri Lanka, the advertising law is that we can't advertise to anyone below 16. So this is minus that number. Facebook, you can have a Facebook profile if you're 13 years and over, but you can't be shown advertisements if you're below 16. So this 11 million is anyone above 16, any active profiles which are above 16 years of age. But we can be sure that there are no 16-year-olds on Facebook. Facebook is now more of like a more mature audience now. A lot of the young ones have dropped out of Facebook because their parents started getting on Facebook, and then they kind of got out of Facebook. So now they use different platforms. Some of them are on Instagram, some of them are on Snapchat, TikTok, a lot of these newer social media sites. But the population is quite small. So this is where the majority still is. Okay, so I'll keep going. And then we have YouTube. Now, although YouTube is part of Google, the reason why we talk about it separately, because it's like a completely different beast, right? Because YouTube as a platform is so powerful. It is the second largest search engine in the world, and it is obviously the first #1 video search engine in the world, and even in Sri Lanka. So I remember just last year, around August last year, this number was 7.2 million. Okay, in August last year, 2024. Okay, and YouTube Shorts was launched in Sri Lanka last year. Soon after YouTube Shorts, so YouTube Shorts are basically very short videos, that's why they're called shorts, less than 10-15 seconds, right? And they're vertical videos, meaning you watch them vertically, and you just keep swiping up, and then you get lost in a rabbit hole of videos, right? So as soon as YouTube Shorts was launched, we saw this number increasing like every other month. It would just keep increasing by 20-30%. And as of now, we are at 8.4 million active users on YouTube, right? Again, this is the advertisable population, meaning below profiles below above 16 years of age. So it has now become, I remember a few years ago, YouTube was like an optional channel even for brands if they wanted to advertise, because it was like a very small segment. But now it's a mass audience. So if YouTube, interesting fact, if YouTube was a TV channel, it would be the second largest TV channel in the country. So #1 is Derana, you have YouTube, and then you have Hero, right? So if it was a TV channel, it would be the second largest. I need to now put this into that same table and see whether at 8.4, whether it is now the #1 TV channel. But if it was a TV channel, it would be the second largest. And any content that goes on YouTube can be watched on any device. That's the coolest part of YouTube, and that is what makes it very powerful. We call it a multi-touch point platform, meaning you can basically see that content on different screens, right? So you can watch it on mobile, you can watch it on desktop, you can watch it on a tab, you can watch it on your laptop, or you can even watch it on TV. Because if you have a smart TV, which is now, there are about almost a million, 1.1 million 1.1 million YouTube users who watch YouTube on TV, right? So that's a huge number for a country like for a small small population like ours. That's a huge number. So we obviously have more smart TVs, right? But we have about 1.1 million, a million YouTube users who watch YouTube on smart TVs. So this is huge. So this is how far you can take your content. So you only have to upload it in one place, and the video just appears everywhere on all these devices, wherever your users prefer to watch their content. Yeah. Any questions?
Ma'am, I have one question.
Yes.
All right, so I'm the club secretary of Leo Club of Prince of Wales College. So I'm Leo Risindugunasekara. So
Yes.
my question is that, ma'am, when it comes to social media platforms and especially internet, so a lot of our students are struggling to learn properly using the internet, as like from what I see. And my question is that should they follow international content to learn something, or Sri Lankan based content through YouTube or any other through any other social media platforms? And also we have Malio and the Lions portal. And what is the best source of content which we can recommend to our students to learn about the world, like should they follow international content like from US or Japan or any other country, or follow Sinhala content creators?
Okay, that's a very loaded question, but let me try to answer this diplomatically. So it's like this. This is a personal opinion, okay? Because I don't think we can there is no set rule. But in my opinion, see, we are going to be exposed to, especially you said you're from Prince of Wales, so you're maybe still in school, or you deal with a lot of students who are still in school, right? So something that I'm a millennial, right? So as a millennial, I had the best of both worlds. Like I know what life was like before the internet, and I know what life was. I grew up partially with the internet, right? So something that I really feel is that you will be exposed to so much of content, right? Not only as a student, but even as an adult, you're exposed to so much of content um, on multiple platforms, right? So if you go on YouTube, you'll be seeing different types of videos. On Instagram, you'll be seeing different content. On TikTok, you're going to be seeing completely different content. Now, the rule is that I feel we need to know is all these platforms work on something called an algorithm, right? Algorithm means that the content you see isn't just a coincidence, right? ඒ කියන්නේ අපි කියන්නේ අහම්බෙන් දකිනවා කියලා, අපිට අහම්බෙන් දකින්නේ. The content that we see is all engineered, right? Behind the scenes, these platforms have engineered all of this content. So based on your activity, you will be shown the content that the platform feels you're interested in. So for example, mama godak click info යනවා. I'm going to use a bit of Singlish here. I hope that's okay. දැන් කියමු මම ගොඩක් cricket matches බලනවා. එක්ක මම cricket info website එකට ගොඩක් ගිහිල්ලා I look at a lot of, like I read a lot and things like that. My user history is there. These platforms know that this is what my usage is like, right? So if you go on Facebook, or if you go on Instagram or TikTok, you are going to be shown things that are similar to what you have been watching, right? You're the one who decides your content. Then if you go on TikTok, right? වෙන මොකක් හරි දැන් කියමුකෝ අපි dance videos බලන්න කියලා, right? නිකමට ගිහිල්ලා වෙන මොකක් හරි video එකක් බලන්න. Every other video you keep seeing after that will be related to what you watched the second time, right? So all this content is engineered. It does not happen coincidentally. It doesn't happen by chance, right? If you are Instagram එකේ scroll කර කර යනකොට මොකක් හරි දැකලා අපි ආයෙ පස්සට scroll කරොත් ඒකත් platform එක ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. She saw it and she's going back to it, right? The platform knows that. They know scroll කරගෙන යනකොට කියමු අපි එක තැනක pause කරා කියලා. They know you have paused there and you spent more time looking at that piece of content, which means you're interested or it's relevant to you or you have connected with it, whatever, right? So the system knows that, and then the next time it happens, they will keep showing you relevant content. So that is some context to how it works, right? How social platforms work. Ekanisa, what I believe is you decide the content that you choose to see. You can either look at really unnecessary content that is not productive, it is not constructive, it doesn't grow your brain. You can watch content like that, or you can look at content that will really make you learn, right? Find out something more, whether it is Sri Lankan or international, right? The beauty of it is that we are exposed to, I know a lot of people say then because I train a lot of people in university who have just come into university and who are still students, right? ගොඩක් අම්මලා ඉඳන් කියනවා digital වල ඉන්න එක හොඳ නැහැ, right? Social media හොඳ නැහැ, right? But you and I know how much we do as social projects and how good social can be. ඒක අපි වැරදි විදිහට පාවිච්චි කරොත් it's going to be bad, right? So you can decide what content you see. So something මට දැන් ඔළුවට ආපු අදහසක් තමයි, something you can maybe do is have a workshop for these students, especially because they are still school going, so they don't have the maturity to think for themselves as much. You can maybe train them. You can do a workshop on how to engineer their social feed so that they see good content, productive content, right? So workshop එකක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. We can help you do it actually, because we have social media specialists. The digital field is huge, right? So social media is only one part of it, but we have social media specialists who can actually help you with the content. We will train the students on how to engineer the content. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි කොහොමද අපේ feed එකේ වැදගත් content බලන්න කියන එක අපිට ඒක කියලා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට whether they choose to continue to watch dumb content or not is up to them, but at least you have tried to educate them on the good content that they can see. I know so many people who have been inspired by good content and started their own businesses, who have joined social projects by seeing content, right? I have an example of that later, which we did here in Sri Lanka and I was part of it, right? ඉතින් ගොඩක් හොඳ දේවල් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. අපි කොහොමද ඒ පැත්තට ඒ මාර්ගය හදලා දෙන්න කියන එක, that can be a workshop, a small workshop that you do with them, just to educate them and make them aware. Also, on the other hand, you can maybe educate them on cyber safety, how to be safe online, and things like that, so that that will also help them, because see, you can't tell them not to use the internet, but guide them on how best they can make use of all this content that is available. I think watching international content is good because we can be inspired and we can ideas අරගෙන අපිට ලංකාවේ අත්හදා බලලා අපිට experiment කරලා, we can actually, there are businesses that have come up like that, so why not, right? We can do it. But I think we have to kind of train them to do it. I'm sorry, it was a long answer, but I needed to set some context before I could answer the question. Does that help? I think it was Risindu, right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Highly appreciated.
No worries. Okay. Cool. I will Just keep your questions coming. Great questions. Those are the kind of questions I like because it takes the conversation beyond just what I'm sharing, right? So these are, I'm just showing you giving you the context of the landscape. Sri Lanka as a digital population, what it looks like. And then I'll show you some inspiration and just get your minds going. And of course, we can have follow-up sessions with more specific topics later if you feel like this was helpful. Excuse me. So TikTok is one of the newest platforms that came into Sri Lanka, and yet we already have 6 million users. Again, we have crazy content. We have content from, excuse me, we have travel content. We have a lot of creators content creators who do really good job, who do a really good job of creating various type of content. And like we were talking about, there are businesses also who have really succeeded in being on TikTok. I am not on TikTok. Okay, I didn't want to be on TikTok, but I very recently, like just last week actually, I felt like I was too old for TikTok, so I swore that I am not going to be on TikTok. But just last week, I thought, okay, I really need to understand this platform, and I can't understand it if I'm not on it. So I tried to kind of check it out a little bit. But yeah, you can do a lot of stuff on it if you use it creatively. And then we have LinkedIn. So this is interesting here because I remember 10 years ago, we had 300,000 people on LinkedIn. Okay, a lot of people didn't even know how to pronounce it. It was normal. None of us knew how to even pronounce it properly. There were only 300,000 people like 10 years ago. And now we have close to 3 million users, active users on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional social site. And what is really interesting is look at the age group, right? That's on LinkedIn. 25 to 34-year-olds, obviously, they are the working population. But look at the 18 to 24-year-olds. This is something we would have never seen 4, 5, 6 years ago, right? But now you can see a lot of this younger generation, they are now very much on professional networks. Networking is a key factor in a lot of the younger people that we meet. So not just millennials, but even Gen Zs, they are very much into networking. So this is a very professional platform. The way we communicate on LinkedIn is very different to how we communicate on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, right? So each of these platforms we talked about have their own personality, right? So the way we communicate is different, but the objective could be the same, right? And then, of course, you have the display network. So this is an advertising platform. So if you want to pay and advertise, you can do this. Lions International already does this. I literally went to your website today once, and then I started getting targeted ads everywhere on Facebook and on normal websites. So this is where, like, I'm sure if you go to a normal website, you've seen different ads on the website. So this is how you can distribute ads through the Google Display Network, right? So that's a summary of how we are. So you know that Sri Lanka as a landscape is huge now on digital. So how do we go about like getting started, right? So first of all, you need to decide on your goals and objectives, right? What are your goals and what are your objectives? What is your goal? Why are you using digital as a platform, right? So identify what you are trying to achieve by using digital platforms or social platforms. And then identify what the objective is, right? Is it recruitment? Do you want to hire more people into the club, right? Do you, well, not hire, but get more membership? into the club? Do you want to promote your social projects that you all are doing? Do you want to raise awareness? Do you want to get sponsorships? Is that an objective? So you can have different objectives of what you're trying to do digitally, right? So you can have more than one objective. The way you approach each objective could be different, but you can have more than one objective, but not more than 3 or 4. And then you need to be very specific on what those objectives are, right? Because it is only then that you can decide may objective එකට මම පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ මෙන්න මේ platforms, right? This objective I will use these platforms. You can decide that only once you know very clearly what your objective is. So always have a specific objective on what you're trying to achieve by communicating or running some kind of campaign or content plan on your social sites. And then you need to, once you have that, you can decide what your channels are going to be, right? For example, if you want to get sponsorships, if you want to get some funding or you want to raise funding, then LinkedIn might be a better place to communicate it, right? The reason is that's where all the professionals hang out. Professionals, not only in Sri Lanka, but remember, most of these professionals, the Sri Lankan professionals, may now be based overseas, right? We've had a huge migration over the last 2 years. So now most of these Sri Lankans may be now expats, right? So they may have more money that they can give us as funding. So LinkedIn would be a better bet. Not to say that you don't have to put it on Facebook and Instagram and other platforms, but LinkedIn should be your primary channel for something like that. Next example, let's say you want to talk about the social projects you have done, right? That means you want more eyeballs, right? You want more people to see it. You want reach. එතකොට අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? Reach කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? Reach තියෙන්නේ YouTube and Facebook or Meta, right? So we use those as our primary channels for the objective of raising awareness about something, right? So that's why I said the objective has to be very clear so that you can decide what your channel is and how you're going to craft your message. LinkedIn දාන content එකක් අපිට copy paste කරලා we can't put it on Facebook, right? Because you are not going to connect with people. People on Facebook and Instagram are scrolling leisurely, right? So you have to message it in a way and package it in a way that someone who is just sitting in bed scrolling Facebook or Instagram will connect with it. But if you're on LinkedIn, you're actually more alert, right? Because you're trying to do something professional. Maybe you're trying to reach your network. Maybe you're trying to do some research. Maybe you're looking for jobs. So you're a bit more alert as a user if you're on a platform like LinkedIn, right? So the messaging would differ. That is why, again, it's very important we understand the objective, we choose our channels, and we decide on the right messaging. Pausing here before I get to the examples. Any questions?
I have one. So we saw the breakdown of the age ranges when it came to LinkedIn. And of
Yeah.
course, it was very interesting because it gives that insight into who's looking at it. And even if you look at targeting certain age groups, whether that will be a channel. Are you able to, Gayathri, I don't know, this will be there later in your presentation, to give a similar breakdown for Instagram and Facebook in terms of what, maybe is it like a more percentage of Gen X on Facebook or something like that, to give a context of the user population on those channels?
Yeah, I actually have it with me now. Let me open it up. See.
While you open it out, a shout out to all our friends from India who have joined.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have it. Well, the slide doesn't look pretty, but I'm going to share it anyway.
No worries. Cosmetics.
Yeah, so this is, you can take a screenshot. So this is the age gender breakdown for Facebook. And so here, something interesting here is you see the 34 to 44 or 35 to 54 age group, right? This was a much lower percentage a couple of years ago, a few years, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And now it's actually a higher percentage. So the reason was that, right? Most of millennials and late millennials, early Gen Zs, they kind of went off Facebook the moment their parents started coming onto Facebook. But you still see relative consumption, but there are a lot of people who have a profile but who are not active, right? So this can get skewed a little, but this is generally what we work with. And this is Instagram. You can take a screenshot of this as well. So this you can see very drastically, you can see the age group split. You don't have an older crowd on, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said older. I'm sorry, no offense, but you don't have, you can see the split. It's mostly 18 to 34 age group. That's mostly active.
Thanks, because this helps with something like recruitment goals, depending on the age group you want to target.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. Let me see whether that had anything else. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions before I proceed? I'm also mindful of time, so I'll try to. Okay, cool. Let me just carry on. Okay, so let's look at some. Let me make sure that I shared with sound.
Redes sociales nos ayudan a poder alcanzar,
So here is an
redes sociales nos
example
ayudan a poder alcanzar.
from Lions in Panama. You all can all hear the audio, right? Were you able to hear the audio when it played?
Heard it.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So this is this will just take, I mean, half a minute, but this is Lions in Panama. They mostly use this for event promotions. They mostly use social platforms for their event promotions. You can take a look at their social media profiles. But if you really listen to what they say here, some of it has subtitles because they're speaking in a different language. But if you see what they have to say here on why they find social profiles really effective.
Alcanzar también personas con alguna necesidad de servicio en nuestra comunidad.
Es como una conexión entre la comunidad y nosotros.
Me llena de una gran alegría ver esos rostros tan bonitos y yo creo que eso es lo más bonito de ser un león.
It's very, very important for us to show what we are doing. And showing what we're doing, that's marketing.
Lo que nos ha dado éxito a nivel de marketing es atrevernos a pensar en grande.
The best performing posts are always where you are able to transmit that emotion that you feel when you serve. These are the posts that get all the engagement.
Marketing es la mejor manera de crecer el club.
Pudimos reclutar a 2 nuevos miembros.
We have some younger followers. For them, social media comes natural.
Como un joven puedo decir, oye, yo puedo ayudar a la comunidad también. ¿Por qué no participar en este club?
Uno puede hacer más amistades, poder ayudar a muchas más personas. Formamos 4 clubes en esta actividad interclubes. No nos conocemos presencialmente, los conocemos en redes sociales, pero hoy logramos conocerlos, logramos trabajar en conjunto.
So they do a lot of projects like this. So this is their case study video. It's actually on the Lions International website. This is a case study video that they have published on how they've made this really effective, and how they have been able to be really successful in their marketing. And then we have South Tuscan Cyber Lions Club. They use social mostly for Facebook for recruitment and engagement with their content. So while Panama used it mostly for promoting events and so on, even now if you go to their Instagram page, it's a lot of content about various events that they're doing, virtual workshops, etc., etc. So while they use it for that purpose, Tuscan Cyber Lions use it mostly for recruitment and engagement of their content. And then California Lions have they use it mostly on a multi-platform. So they use multiple platforms across YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. They use multiple platforms for mostly their outreach programs. So they talk a lot about their projects, and they get volunteers and sponsorships, even non-Lions as volunteers for their projects using multi-platform campaigns. So there's a lot of inspiration within us. This is just a few things that I just picked up, but a lot of this is also if you go into Lions International website, not Lions International website, sorry, yes, there is something called Smile. Y'all obviously may be quite aware of it already. So Smile is this program that they have for Lions, where they educate the clubs on how effectively they can use social media. And I think Lions is very well equipped. Even when I was chair for marketing communications with my club, we used a lot of those social kits. You don't have to recreate a lot of things. It's all templated, it's all there, and it's all on Canva, freely available to use and easy to design as we want to localize it. So we can really make use of that content. So now I'm moving into a couple of inspirational videos on for that brands have used. So these are bigger brands, but this is something that Coke did and how they use social. So it's really about how they got creative. So Coca-Cola, is a legacy brand. It's one of the oldest brands in the world. So how can you get creative with a brand that everybody already knows about, right? They don't really need to even do marketing. But here's how they got creative. And I think how this is inspiring for us is, I think we need to think, okay, yes, it's a social project, but how can we make this exciting and creative so that we get a lot of younger people involved, we get a lot of working people more interested in this, right? How can we hype it up a little bit creatively? So I think
hadn't even tasted a Coke. We had to reconnect with Australia, so we decided to get personal. Coke.
Kate and Kate, the two Kates. Classy Kate. Crazy Kate. If you know a Kate, share a Coke with Kate, or Mel, or Dave, or Jay, or Ash.
So that's how they created that sense of engagement, right? The only thing they did, what did they do here as a company? The only thing they did was just change the label of the bottle, right? So, but doing that created so much engagement and media mileage. People took a photograph of it, they shared it on social media, they purchased the bottle, which was the ultimate objective. But it's just how they got a really simple idea, and very creatively they just opened out engagement on social, and this went viral because of the social platforms. So even when we have even a project, like, we can think of ways we can make it engaging. There was a similar campaign called Say It with Coke, which was also launched in Sri Lanka, and I was part of that launch campaign. So here are some pictures of that. So this is my bottle with my social media handle on it. So what we did was we actually, and you can see how we have localized it with local languages and local sayings, right? So what we really did was, again, we localized it, we made it personal to our market, and we use social media handles, right? So what we did was we approached the Twitter community. Those days, like 10 years ago, the Twitter community in Sri Lanka was really productive. We did a lot of social projects together. We were really engaging and interactive. So what we really wanted to do was we wanted to create some buzz within the community. And so what we did was we used their social media name and created labels for them. And we had a small engagement, like a meet and greet, so that they shared a lot of this content online, right? So again, this is where, seeing that international content, you don't have to recreate a lot of things. You can just copy paste even, but localize it so that it makes it feel personal, right? You can recreate the same thing. I mean, social projects don't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be always extremely serious, right? We can put a spin on it sometimes to make it a bit more engaging. This is an example of Close Up, which is a brand, which is a toothpaste brand here. And this is how they created vertical short videos and a whole story. So this campaign went only online. They didn't have TV, radio, print, nothing. It was only online. And it was an entire storyline with short form videos, right? So this is again the content I was talking about, short form content.
මේ කතාව ෂෝට් ස්ටෝරියක් වේද ලොං ස්ටෝරියක් වේද? close වේද නැත්නම් ඒ දෙන්න close වේද?
These video series, there was a series of these similar videos that kind of went on. So it was like a teaser, right? It was like a teaser video, and then they had like follow-up content that they put on their social profiles, right? So this is a local story as well as the global story. This is a social project. So this you can probably relate to more. I was talking about the Twitter community a few years ago, right? So some of us got together and I created this hashtag called #IDonateLK, meaning I donate for Sri Lanka, right? So we started this campaign saying #IDonateLK and started online, only on Twitter. Twitter had like 300,000 people, right, 10 years ago. So only on Twitter in Sri Lanka, we said, okay, guys, the Twitter community is going to come together and organize a blood drive. So we called it I Donate 1, I Donate 2, I Donate 3, and so on. And I think we had about 4 or 5 campaigns. We even had the largest blood donation campaign in cancer hospital that they had ever had up to that date. And this was only organized on Twitter, not even all the social platforms, right? It was only Twitter, a single platform. We actually Dialogue saw what we were doing online, and they reached out to us, and you can see they sponsored as well. They did some merchandise for us. And they gave us some the funding to do this, right? We did it with the National Blood Bank. We did it at the cancer hospital, Apeksha Hospital in Maharagama. So, and then you can see people also got on. So these are some of the very key profiles in community. They also had it on their profiles to show that they endorse this campaign. So this was done, we did about 4 or 5 times. This was done completely online, right? We organized this completely online with no offline until we met at the donation. We hadn't even seen some of us, we hadn't even seen each other before. Also, during the crisis time when and COVID, when we needed equipment for hospitals, etc., together with 2 other ladies, and we actually just between the 3 of us, we were able to raise 2.3 million rupees just between the 3 of us, just by talking about it and sharing messages on Facebook and on our social channels. We collected money, and these were people we don't know. These were people who don't know us, but they trusted us to send money, and we were able to give out. I still have the Excel sheet where I maintained all the funds. We were able to donate like ventilators, PPE kits, nebulizers, and all of these kind of medical equipment to various COVID centers around Sri Lanka as well, right? So this is again, making use of that, not making use of, but I think like really doing, you can do good with the situations that actually that you find yourselves in as well, if you use it constructively, right? So this platform works. I have tried and tested it multiple times, so I know 100% it works. It's just how we kind of manage it. Before we close, I'm just wrapping up how to use kind of how best we can use social platforms. There are series of videos that are available on the Lions International site, also specific to what we want to achieve. So if we want to recruit, how can we do this? What type of messaging can we have? So that kind of, there's a series of videos which I feel will be useful. So go and take a look. You can definitely, I think, take some tips and tricks from that. And at the end of it, please have someone dedicated to measure results, because something we do is we put in a lot of effort sometimes into our marketing, but we don't measure whether it is paid or not paid, whether it's just content or actual ad campaigns. Please make sure you measure results so that you know what is working for you and what is not working for you, so that you can tweak your strategy. And that's it. So I'm ready to take on any questions.
Gayathri, there's a question, I think it's about the Twitter campaign. Is this an example of crowdfunding?
Nidhi, were you referring to the Twitter campaign
Yes.
or the COVID?
Just the example you shared previously about the COVID campaign that you did online.
Yeah, you can say it was crowdfunding. Yeah, completely crowdfunding, because I literally just put up a post on Facebook and I said, hey guys, we are doing this. One of my school friends was a doctor in the ER in Valimada Hospital, which is a hospital in the outstations of Sri Lanka. And that was a COVID center. Another one of my friends was a lawyer. So we were and because she had a pass, she was able to really take her vehicle around during curfew and deliver these items, right? So that's how we came together. So I was the marketing person, and then we had a doctor and we had a lawyer. So yeah, it was just totally personal. It was nothing formal. It was just 3 people who came together and just said, okay, guys, we are going to do this. Who's going to help? And we just shared it on our networks. Our friends shared it on their networks. And then these random people were just sending me money. And we collected everything. We had an Excel sheet. So you kind of need to build that trust and do it properly as well, and show people that but now you have crowdfunding websites and so on, so you can do it a bit more formally. But yes,
This is what
but
I
as a-
wanted to ask next, that whenever you do a marketing campaign on social media, there is a lot of buzz about the credibility of the people who are doing that as well. Because many a times marketing campaigns may have some issues, trust issues also later. So credibility is
Yeah.
one thing that we must focus along with that.
100%. Yeah. And I think one really good way of being able to build that credibility is transparency. And that's something we did. We don't have time now, but I can even later share screenshots of the kind of stories that I shared on my pages during that time. Every time we had, like, every other day, I would do like a recap of this is how much we have gotten, this is how much we've spent, this is where we spent, and this is what we bought for the money. So whether it was 2,000 rupees or 200,000 rupees, we were really transparent in our communication, so that, and it was regular communication. So I think transparency is key. On the other hand, since we are in this scenario through a Lions Club, when we are doing something, I think the credibility is already 50% there, because you're not doing it on a personal capacity, you're doing it with an established institution. So I think it's there. But transparency is something that really helped us kind of keep building it.
Thanks a lot, Gayathri.
No
Thanks a lot,
problem.
Shani.
Gayathri, there are some questions in the chat. One is from Angie. Can you please suggest some apps for making videos and posters for free to post it on social media platforms?
Yeah, Angie, I'm just looking at the question. Angie, Canva is the best there. Canva is free to up to a certain point, but you can actually get a subscription for a very small amount, where you can open it to a group of people. So you can even, I mean, it's a very small amount, even if you want to take the pro version, but you can open it up to then a group of people where multiple people can use it. So maybe as a single club, if you can't do it, you can maybe get multiple teams into it and do it. But Canva is the easiest. I do everything on Canva, like everything. You can do PowerPoints, so this PowerPoint was designed on Canva. You can do PowerPoint, Instagram, Facebook, anything, posters, PD, whatever you want, you can actually this thing. And on the Lions International site, your social media kit has Canva templates. So you can actually, let me actually share that, show you that until, so you can actually just use the same, so so this is the Lions International page, the website, and you have under social media resources, if you go down and you see social media kits, you go to view kits. Can you see templates can be customized using Canva, a free design tool for non-designers. So actually under each of this you have, so for example, Global Lions brand, you have Canva templates. So these are like straight away on Canva, you can go and edit it. So if you click on it, it opens up on Canva and you can edit it however you want. Maybe through your Lions logins, you can have access to it. So all these are already on Canva templates. So for a Lions purpose, this would be ideal. Even personally, Canva is the easiest.
One clarification.
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yes, please.
Yeah. This may not be completely on your presentation, but as you know, there are a large number of very senior members in Lions clubs. How do you manage them to get this into digital communication? Some may not be because of their knowledge. Some like traditional communication. Some they don't have idea of this communication, but some still like traditional communication, like call in without putting a message to the WhatsApp group, then Zoom meetings, then using different methods of communication. How do you manage this resistance or transition?
Good question. So I've had experience dealing with clients like this, where, they are from a different generation, or they are just people who are uncomfortable with change, right? So we are all human. So I think that's the root cause of all of it. Like, they have tried and tested methods and they don't want to move out of it, but the rest of the world has moved. So I think it's a very gentle conversation you will have to have internally. Or maybe you can approach somebody who can reach out to them and know that this is something you can do. Alternatively, something I tried with clients like that is, I said, okay, it's not about stopping what they are doing, right? But also complement whatever we are already doing traditionally with digital. That usually worked out to be a very smooth transition. So you're not saying no to what they want to do, but you're saying, yes, we will do that and we will do this. If they are number people, maybe you can show them data. You can, rather than trying to justify yourself with them, maybe you can show them some statistics in a very simplified way to show that you really have a good reach on these platforms. Maybe that will help them kind of be convinced. I don't know, this is a very cheeky thing to say, but there is with one client, something I tried was, I ran a campaign for him without telling him, and then it worked, and then I showed him the results, and then he kind of was won over. But I think it's all to do with the person. He was cool like that, so I was able to do it, and he had given me a free hand. But it really, I guess, depends on the person. I know there's a lot of dynamics involved, but maybe as a team you can kind of get together and see how best to address it.
Okay,
Shana, maybe you have something to add to that. That's a more lion issue. But I've dealt with people like that. So, I mean, trust me, I had to convince,
Still
like,
dealing with people
yeah.
like
I had to convince a very large brand, a very large multinational brand. I had to convince them that they need a Facebook page. So, I
It is
understand.
really not the age. Some people are really
Yeah,
into
it's
the digital era, but it's not the age.
Yeah, it
yeah.
also depends on the percentage of how many of those difficult people are there and how we will address it also.
Yes, so that's
And in
true.
what context.
Yeah.
Yes,
Totally
yes,
understand.
yes.
Some other questions also in the
Yeah.
chat,
Is there
Gayathri.
any way to increase? Sorry, there was one before
What are the
that.
new trends seen visible in digital space with generational shifts?
Yeah, Randir, I think some of the main things are basically consumption, right? So the platform shift, you saw that when we looked at the age groups between, for example, Facebook and Instagram. Is, we typically think, oh, we use Facebook, so everybody uses Facebook, but that's not the case. Especially the age group you want to target, you need to see which platforms they consume. Like, for example, I may not use TikTok, but then if I want to talk to a Gen Z, then I need to be on TikTok because that's a main key platform for them. The other thing I see is, one of the biggest things I see is in terms of the type of content. So we think that people don't watch long form content, but actually that's not true. Data has shown that they actually watch long form content. What I mean by long form is more than 1 minute, right? Because online, anything less than 1 minute, nobody's going to watch. You look at yourself, you don't watch anything for more than 30 seconds, okay? Unless you're on YouTube, you're going with the mindset to learn something or do some research, then yes, you might watch a podcast or something for more than 10 minutes, right? So something we see is people watch long form content, but they go there because of the short form content they see. So if you're doing something for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you do like a 30 seconds clip, you do a 1 minute clip, and you do those also. You crop those and publish those as well. Eking hook vela tamai, they kind of move on to the long form content, right? So if you do work on documentaries or things like that, which have more heavy content, do little snippets and push that content also out there. Another thing, last one, another thing, big trend we see is that new generations, they don't care about nice, polished videos or content. They don't need nicely edited, nicely shot kind of videos. They like real videos, especially when it comes to things like the projects that we do. Different brands, different strategy, but for us, for Lions, they like to see real content. So don't waste a lot of time on editing and perfecting content, because most of the generation now, they just like it as it is. The more edited it is, the more fake it is for them. So they kind of feel disconnected. Okay, so yeah. Hope that helps. Then I think Angie had another question. Is there any way to increase the number of followers and views on without boosting it? Angie, unfortunately, short answer is no. The reason being, these are all companies that are made to make money, right? So the only way they can make money is if companies advertise. So that's how the algorithm is designed. It's designed to give you what we call organic boosting or organic reach naturally, but up to a limit. Beyond that, you do need to do a little bit of boosting, because it's really difficult to otherwise get the eyeballs that you want. And then coming to, what do you think of the bad side of social media, kids using the internet? Well, like I said earlier, I mean, there is a good and bad side to everything, right? I mean, even TV, if you really think about it, there can be a bad side to it. Again, in terms of the content we watch, I think, like, okay, I don't know if y'all have heard of this saying, but the only two things where people are considered users are with drugs and devices. In no other place are people referred to as users, right? So I think that kind of says it all. The control is purely on us. I have two kids. They don't get screen time at all. And trust me, that's really hard, because there are multiple times when I just want them to sit in one place. So I really want to give them the screen. But I am in the digital space, so I know how much digital can consume you. So they don't get screen time at all during the week. On the weekend, they get very controlled screen time, and I control the content that they watch. So it's completely up to us, and I think we completely have control over it. It's just we need to have a lot of brain power to kind of make sure we see it through, and not give in to it. Because you can't tell them, I mean, they are in the technological era, right? We can't tell them not to use screens. That's not practical. They start computer studies from kindergarten. So you can't tell them not to use screen device. They need to. It's just, I think we need to engineer how they use it and how much they use it, in my personal opinion. Is there such a thing as ideal times or days to post on social media? Yes. All your social profiles will have something called an analytics section. And in your analytics section, you will see your user behavior. So you're able to see, for example, in the last 30 days or in the last 7 days, when have your posts got the highest views? When have your posts got the highest engagement? What days of the week and what times of the day? So the best practice is to understand, and you kind of analyze and understand the data and then post it accordingly. You can also schedule content, so you don't have to literally manually go and post it. You can schedule it to those times so that it automatically gets posted.
I think we can take the last question and then.
Yeah, Rasindu's, no?
Yeah, I should have asked.
Yeah, no problem. I believe have a great strategy to gain more reach. My doubt is if we should create a strategy, create a brand for ourselves. Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. I don't know whether this is wrong, but yes, under Lions, all of the clubs, right? We kind of try to work towards the same goal. But I think you can create your own, I don't know, culture, your own brand, your own, I think of yourselves as a brand when you all are doing your marketing. Think of yourselves like, if you were a brand, how would you communicate? Because form works. So again, Lions International will have an overarching strategy, but it may not be locally relevant to us. I don't think they expect us to just copy paste it anyway. I think they are just giving us a guideline, and then we can localize it to how we want and how we know will connect to our community. So that is on us. But again, feel free to look outside of that, because there could be something that will never work in Sri Lanka, right? So we can introduce things that work here as well as a strategy. There are what we call fads, right? Or like trends, you know how මොකද දැන් ළඟදී ගිය trend එකක් මගේ ඔළුවට එන්නේ, but there are different, like little trends that happen in
Like the
society.
dancing videos kind of thing. They dance into the
Yes,
video.
exactly. මේ දවස්වල මොකක් හරි ගියා මට දැන් I can remember the ad, but I can't remember what the story was. But yeah, අර එක එකව වෙනවනේ අපේ. ඉතින් දැන් ඒවට දැන් මේ සතියේ කතා කරන්නේ අපි ඒක ගැන. Right? So එහෙම තියෙනවනේ. So you can definitely ride on those if they are relevant to you. Right? And if it's not going to hinder what you're doing, there are things that are relevant to you. You can definitely ride on those waves. Being very conscious about the message you're trying to go into society, right? Because we have a certain culture that we need to maintain as well. So keeping that in mind, but those are all things that brands do. So think of yourselves as a brand, and and go for it. I think a lot of it is don't overthink it. We spend so much time sometimes over analyzing and overthinking, over planning. Just do it, because until you test it out, you will not know what works.
So thanks, Gayathri. Thanks for that. And also, Lions International is very strong in terms of what they want, the brand, in terms of the visual of the logo and the usage and the colors and typeface. And that is kept out there very well and very strongly in the marketing page, and they've said this is how you can use the logo, this is how you can't use the logo. So we need to follow those. They have given the brand colors in terms of the primary colors of the blue, the yellow, and the purple, including the tone, like the C by NK kind of tone, as well as a secondary thing. But that doesn't mean that we can't use other colors, right? So it really depends on how we resonate. As much as possible, we have to give visual identity by using the Lions logo, and that's what even our international president is pushing. And for the Lions and those on this call, we have so, for people outside, it doesn't matter whether you are district 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's Lions. So this year we are tagging all our social media posts. We're tagging a lot of our work as Lions of Sri Lanka. So that it is to show, because for them Lions is Lions. It's like doctor is a doctor kind of thing. So everything that we do, all our messaging would, if it has that, will give that kind of outline look. And that's what looking. I'll just share a small video. There is a really good campaign that's been launched out by International called Experience More at Lions. And it shows what people are doing in terms of, not having posts. Like you said, people don't want highly edited content anymore. So I just try and share this because the marketing team here actually has basically kind of made it more for us in terms of using it maybe for our orientations and things like that. Let me just take a minute. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let's hope this works. So we have basically, let's see how it So that's an international video that was out, and to make it relevant to Sri Lanka, to use in our orientations, our programs, the team just added at the beginning and put a holding slide at the end. So that's little things we can do without corrupting the whole overall thing that was done. So anyway, Gayathri, thank you for sharing your wisdom, for being so accommodating of all our questions. And and also I know how busy you are for giving us this time away from your family while talking to us. Can I invite Leola and Dilshan? Dilshan, are you here to propose the vote of thanks before we call tonight? Dilshan may. Okay.
Hi. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Thank you very much, Multiple Council Chairperson. First of all, I would like to thank you to our sorry. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to resource persons today, Mrs. Gayathri Seneviratne, for accepting our invitation with your busy schedule and being here today for an impactful, beneficial session. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, especially on digital marketing and key indicators and social media and other things. We hope to see you join hands with the Lands Multiple District in the future event as well. So I take this opportunity to thank Lands Multiple District Council Chairperson Lands Shana Jala and Chairperson of the meeting, Lands 𝐸𝒓𝒚 Hamid, for guiding and providing opportunities to engage this valuable session. And I would like to thank all the Leo Lions and Leos who from the other countries who joined this session online. Admires your busy schedules. Thank you very much for your participation. Hope to see you in another event. And also, I kindly request to follow our social media platforms, Lands Multiple, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and other Instagram and WhatsApp channel. See you all and good night, everyone. Nice to see you all. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilshan. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thanks, Gayathri.
Thank you so much.
Please
And
join
good
our
night. Good
socials.
night, all of you. Thank you.
Good night. We will close the meeting now. Bye.